Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Destiny's Princess, a war story, a love story. Well, we are on chapter 2 of Hanbei's story, What Silence Hides. In the last episode, we broke off our engagement because it's not proper to have a wedding during wartime. But really, we could have just delayed the wedding. I don't know why we had to break it off. Did they have no such thing as postponements back then? Well, let's see how things go in chapter 2. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. Rokaku.
Yes, my princess. The Rokaku clan.
What a weird name. So they're our enemy?
Yes, they are the sword enemies of this family. Of course, that's all from 100 years in the past. Thanks to our forefathers' destruction of their clan, we now abide together in peace.
Then the fighting is over?
Let's hope so.
Even if there is fighting, I'll always protect you, Saya, so don't worry.
What a good brother you are.
Was that a dream? My real father and real brother, our family's history with the enemy Rokaku passed down. I just wish I could remember more. Though it had been only a few years earlier, it felt more like the distant past. I can't even remember their faces or names. Even in my dreams, I couldn't remember anything about my real family. Even their voices, which had spoken only minutes before, were gone the second I woke up. I could only vaguely recall the conversation we'd had. But I wonder why I had that dream just now. All I heard was a bird calling outside my window. There was no one around to answer my question. I have no idea what that said. What? The demons are attacking? Hearing that we were heading to battle, I ran to the courtyard where the generals were gathered.
Hey, Saya.
Yukimura greeted me with an unconvincing smile. Are you okay? I heard that they've got a huge army.
Huh. Perfect for a good round of sword practice then, right, Masamune? Yeah, no problem at all.
Masamune smiled. They acted bravely, unconcerned, but I wasn't so sure. They'd only come to this world a day ago. Maybe they were doing it for my sake. Yukimura put a hand on my shoulder and smiled.
Don't look so worried. By the time we get back, the demons will be vanquished, so don't let your guard down.
I heard a calm voice behind me. Hanbei was just about to enter the courtyard. The handsome features of his face shone pale in the morning sunlight.
There are a few smart leaders among the demons. If we can eliminate them, the rest will be easy. Whatever you do, don't chase after them too far.
Hanbei's gaze was particularly directed at Yukimura.
It sounds like you're already expecting me to be reckless.
Clearly he is.
I merely spoke the truth of the situation.
Hanbei replied with a nonchalant expression.
No matter how many attacking demons we kill, it won't end until we get the ones behind it all. For the time being, don't waste your energy on any futile battles. Until we know where they came from and how to make them disappear, we will not invade.
I thought we were just going out there to fight.
Understood. I'll be careful.
Yukimura answered, clearly offended.
I'd greatly appreciate it if you would follow my orders. I said I got it, jeez.
Yukimura stomped off. As he passed by me, he whispered quietly.
Has your fiancé always been such a nag?
Yukimura spoke casually, without any hard feelings, but it was enough to chill my blood.
Has your fiancé always been such a nag?
It was this kind of small incident that could cause everything to unravel. Someone as clever as Hanbei could easily find a loose string from which to widen any torn seam. Huh? Sensing someone's gaze on me, I turned in that direction. It was Hanbei, staring intently my way. After that, the battle began. Once the soldiers passed through, the gate was shut with a heavy groan. From that point on, unless I climbed to higher ground, I wouldn't know how the battle progressed. Unable to ascend the watchtower, I decided to head for the castle keep. I had heard that Nobunaga and Hanbei would be commanding the army from there. When I got there, despite being in the middle of war, Nobunaga was calmly seated, having a drink.
Oh, princess, what brings you here?
Are you really drinking at a time like this?
Don't look at me like that. I've delegated my responsibility. I'm merely an observer.
I couldn't be too harsh on the man, injured as he was, who I'd summoned here in the first place. A little shocked, I instead sat down next to Hanbei.
What are you doing here?
Why are you scowling? Why don't you want me here? Hanbei's eyes remained cast on the ground below the tower, not turning to look at me. Is it so surprising that I'm curious how things are going?
This isn't a show. You should return to your room.
I felt utterly helpless and unwanted. I pleaded to stay. But internally, I scolded myself for being so easily intimidated. I promise I won't be any bother. I'll just be quiet and watch. If I was going to protect my castle, my land, and my people, I couldn't let the scene split apart. I had to lend whatever strength I could to the powerful men I had summoned into this world. And for that same reason, I had to be careful around Hanbei. As of now, he was the one most likely to see any tears in the fabric.
Do as you wish.
Hanbei glanced at me from the side of his eyes and gave only that curt answer. The fighting began abruptly. No sooner had our army set up camp than the battle cry sounded from the right flank. Hanbei watched it all with a calm and cool gaze. As if lured by the shouting, the demons started to advance on us from the right. This is scary. From up high, the people were so small. They looked practically like two colliding swarms. But each and every soldier was a subject of my country, a vassal that I knew by sight. I clenched my fists and gulped as I watched the men fight. I hope the men on the right will be able to hold up. Hanbei made no move to move out the men in the left and center factions. The demons gathered around the right side as if savoring the chance to prey on the weak. When they then swarmed in like flies, Hanbei finally spoke.
Move the right flank forward.
Yes, sir. The sound of the conch shell and the war drum reverberated across the army. I could see the right flank separate from the rest of the army and move forward. Hanbei moved only the right flank, from the right to the front to the center. With every command, the conch was blown and the war drum beaten. Won't the right flank be isolated that way? Just what was Hanbei thinking? When I looked at his face, Nobunaga smiled.
Trying to isolate them. Yes, if we don't gather the demons, lure them toward the center, the army will be too spread. And you're using the right flank as bait. Precisely.
The two generals spoke about it like it was a perfectly normal topic of conversation. Well, it is for them. But those were people. The group being surrounded now by demons were all vassals of this country. People died during war. Soldiers had to kill. A tactician would always look for a way to make a small sacrifice for the greater good. I knew all that, but my heart still cried out at the cruel reality. Hanbei, watching our colliding armies expressionless, finally gave an order. Advance the entire army forward. Open up a hole only in the northeast corner, and then attack. It looked to me like Hanbei's strategy had a sure chance of success. Just as our army was completing our encirclement of the demons, there was a disturbance. Oh, crap. The left flank division, or rather, one horseman from among them, suddenly shot out of formation. Is that you, Yukimura? For the first time, Hanbei showed a slight change of expression. That idiot. Yep, that's him all right. Huh? He spoke so quietly, standing right next to him, I may have been the only one who heard.
Hurry the march up. Yes, sir.
The conch shell sounded.
Oh, that single horseman is Yukimura.
As expected? Suddenly, Nobunaga spoke up, sounding amused from behind.
It appears so. He abandoned the right flank. Possibly.
Hanbei's tone was flat, but his fists were tightly clenched. He was trying to conceal his irritation. A while after that, the end of the battle was announced. The demons scattered. Someone had killed the leader of their army. The left flank, under Yukimoto's orders, chased after the demons. Oh.
Tell them to fall back. Yes, sir.
The drum and conch sounded. The left flank paused in their pursuit of the fleeing demons. It looked to me like they were hesitant to stop. It wasn't long after that Yukimoto returned. As soon as he did, he stomped violently into the watchtower. You were told.
What the hell was that strategy? What do you think these soldiers are?
Yukimoto, you're hurt. Before I knew what I was doing, I'd shouted. Blood was dripping from Yukimoto's leg. With every step he took, he left a crimson-colored footprint on the floor.
This is nothing.
Yukimoto shook off the proffered hand and headed directly for Hanbei.
They're not like your little chess pieces. When they die, they never come back.
In contrast with Yukimoto's impassioned fury, Hanbei was utterly calm.
Are you not prepared to do what it takes to be a commander? At least consider how your selfish actions might ruin the success of our tactics. What?
Yukimoto grabbed Hanbei by the front of his shirt. Hanbei sighed, removed Yukimoto's hand, and got to his feet. He then gave a bow to Nobunaga and me and headed for the door.
Hey, are you trying to run away from me? It's no use trying to talk to you right now. What's that?
Yukimoto chased after him, but the coldness of Hanbei's gaze froze Yukimoto in his tracks.
Wow. An angry man is unable to understand reason. Right now, you're worse than a beast. I'd be better off trying to talk to a wild monkey. What? Hanbei, you...
Stop Yukimoto. He's the one being crazy. I don't have to stop Hanbei from doing anything. Yukimoto! I jumped over and clung to the infuriated Yukimoto. With his wounds, I couldn't let him go into any more of a fight.
If you want to be better than a monkey, then learn how to calm down. Until then, I won't be inclined to speak with you.
And with that, Hanbei disappeared down the stairs.
Hanbei!
Calm down, please! I held back Yukimoto before he could run after Hanbei. Then I spoke soothingly to try and calm him down. Never mind him, we need to treat your wounds. Have you seen the path you walked in? At last, Yukimoto dropped his eyes to his own bloody tracks on the floor. He then glanced at the injuries on his legs. You're hurt really badly. Let's go clean you up, okay? He looked reluctant, but finally, grudgingly nodded. Nobunaga let out a long, bored yawn.
Jeez, Hanbei's just so damn cold and heartless.
Yes. As I helped with tending Yukimoto's wounds, I idly responded to Yukimoto's tirade.
Hey, Saya, what's that supposed to mean? Are you just agreeing with me so I'll calm down?
Admit it. I'll be honest. Well, that's part of it, but that's not all. I think Hanbei can be too cold, and analytical too. Yukimoto's wounds were deep and painful. Apparently, these were demon bite marks. If they'd been a little deeper, he might have had chunks of his legs torn right off. Sensing that I really was on his side, Yukimoto snorted.
Right? He's always like that. But you know, I actually thought his orders today weren't like him at all.
One of the veteran vassals helping with Yukimoto's wounds spoke up quizzically.
Sir Hanbei is always tending to act more compassionately than benefits a tactician. Today was rather surprising. Really? He wasn't always like that?
Shouldn't he know? Shouldn't he have been around him a lot? I gently pressed on the dagger at my breast. The compassionate tactician the vassal spoke of was likely the man who'd been my real fiancé. It wasn't surprising that the remaining vassals would notice a strange change in his character. But then why did Yukimoto say what he did? He'd been going on about how Hanbei was always like that. If he'd had only my brother's memories, he should have reacted the same way as the vassal. Was it possible that Hanbei and Yukimoto had known each other in the previous world?
What's wrong, Saya? Something on your mind?
Oh, no, nothing. I was just worried about the other men who were injured.
We all are. We had a lot of wounded today. Even borrowing your handmaids will be hard-pressed to tend to every one of them. Not having enough hands among the servants, all maids and ladies-in-waiting were already at work. That was also the reason the vassal had been helping me with Yukimoto's treatment just now. Well, Yukimoto's all fixed up, so I think I'll go help with the others. Make sure he drinks his medicine. Yes, ma'am, sure will. I'm not a little kid. I can take my medicine without being told.
The vassal bowed his head, and Yukimoto pursed his lips in a pout. The injured men were being gathered and treated in the barracks down the hall. As I walked the dark corridor, a familiar voice coming from around the corner reached my ear.
Those are all the most seriously injured.
I carefully peeked around the corner. The one speaking was Masamune, and facing him with a frown was Hanbei.
We had less sacrifices than I expected. Thanks to your quick thinking, many were able to escape. Thank you, Masamune. You did well to stop Yukimoto. Well, I couldn't quite stop him, but I was glad he wasn't hurt any worse than he was. He's much too rash.
Hanbei smiled bitterly.
Anyway, now that I've ascertained the extent of the injuries, I'll just be going.
Hanbei started to walk off, but Masamune stopped him.
Hanbei, you shouldn't be too worried about the soldiers.
What?
If you concern yourself too much with the individuals, your strategizing will suffer. I'm well aware of that, Masamune, but I'm not so charitable a person.
Hanbei was smiling. It wasn't a smile of cynicism or sarcasm. It was a kind and gentle smile. I had no idea he even had that kind of smile. Even as he proclaimed his unkindness, his face was full of compassion. But that look soon disappeared.
Who's there?
Oops. There was no place to hide. Hanbei walked briskly over and spotted me. He cast his cold gaze down over me. Why so cold?
Well, what is the princess doing in a place like this?
Answer directly. I don't think he'd really care for the timid too much. I came to help tend to the injured soldiers.
And then decided to eavesdrop on your way?
Hanbei grinned viciously. My cheeks glowed red. I never meant to.
Then why were you standing there listening to our conversation?
Because I didn't want to be rude and walk in on it.
Hey, Hanbei. Maybe you could give her a break.
Masamune, feeling sorry for me, tried to help, but Hanbei cut him off.
This is good timing anyway. I had something I needed to discuss with the princess.
With that, Hanbei took my arm. What do you want? We already broke off the engagement. The smile on his face held no trace of the earlier kindness, but was bone-chillingly cold. Well, that doesn't sound good. I can't imagine that he'd have anything that bad to do to us, but that was creepy. What could he possibly want from us? How could they end the chapter there? How can I end this video there? But I must. Sorry. I know these chapters aren't particularly long, but apparently their stories aren't that long because there's not that many chapters. Yeah, so we've seen now that Hanbei isn't quite as cold as he seemed initially part of the time. I don't know, he seems to run hot and cold. Sometimes he seems nice and sometimes he isn't. You just can't tell with this guy. Well, I hope to see you in my future videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.